back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to Boomer Life here on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by Stephen Benolio, principal with Canadian Estate Diamonds and Canadian Noble House Diamonds, and our producer Dwayne Bishop in a particularly musical mood this evening. Got all those wonderful old diamond tunes rolling. I wonder which one is next. Stephen, we were talking before the break about the services that you offer to Vancouverites and British Columbians, because people come from all over the province. You said the building that you're in is kind of a really different place because it houses a ton of creative people. Almost all of Vancouver's fine goldsmiths and other diamond and precious stones experts like yourself all share one building at downtown Vancouver. That's at 736 Granville Street. You're on the 8th floor. Is it the old Burke's building?
It's
the one right next to it.
Removed. That's
right, okay. It's the one right next to it.
Block, the big white building with the 4 clocks on the top.
Okay, the one with the clock tower. That's the building that Canadian Estate Diamonds is in, and that's where CIL 650 listeners have found themselves, well, on the 8th floor on more than one occasion since Stephen has become a regular visitor to us on Boomer Life. And one of the things that, curiosity, we're always curious, and my wife and I are going down to Stephen's office next week, as a matter of fact. We're going to do what that lady and her mom did just last week, Stephen. We're going to take our turn. And I'm really looking forward to it because this is where the rubber meets the road for me. I get to see you with the eyepiece and the lights and the action and all, because it'll be fun. Stephen has brought a couple of his exclusive cuts to the studio in past shows, and the work is just absolutely breathtaking. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. So I'm looking forward to going down to the store and going through the process. We have 2 pieces for you to look at, one of which is a family heirloom containing 2 diamonds and a sapphire mounted on gold. It's really old school. My wife, of course, loves it because it's been handed down and her mom had it, but it's still really old school. And I'm curious as to whether you're going to say, well, maybe you should make a 2014 ring out of this, or whether just it's worth a lot and just leave it as is. Right. Looking forward to that. But one of the things you touched on just before the break is something that I asked you to hold on because we need to take some time. And that is the whole matter of the legitimacy of diamonds. How do we, the person off the street, know anything about how valuable a diamond is really? Well, Stephen, in the past, has pointed to 2 agencies here in North America that certify a diamond as to its cut, in color, and clarity. And carats. Those are the 4 C's, right?
That's right.
Okay, and who are those 2 agencies?
Okay, the first and the biggest of the 2 is the Gemological Institute of America. They have 2 offices in the States, in New York and in Tucson. And they developed the grading scale that the world uses.
Okay.
The color grade starting at D down to which is a colorless stone, down to the end of the alphabet where it's got body color. And the clarity grade being the amount of inclusions. And then they were followed by the American Gem Society, who at about the time the world was realizing how important the cut could be, that it could even be more important than the clarity grade, they started to put a cut grade on their certificate. So their legendary 000 was what the best of the diamond market aspired to. They were perfectly cut diamonds, and that was in perhaps the 90s. The GIA has now also put a cut grade on their certificate. So both of these are non-profit institutions. The grade they arrive at is repeatable. It's something that, for the most part, the world agrees, and it's a better way forward. And at one time, every diamond over 1 carat, if it was a well-cut diamond, would receive a GIA certificate.
Okay.
And then through the 90s, an AGS. Through probably the 80s and 90s, 2 for-profit labs started, both one in Israel and one in Europe. And there's one that is being sold all over Vancouver lately. It's the European Gemological Laboratory. And in my opinion, and I believe in a lot of people's opinion, the grade they use the same grading system as the Gemological Institute of America, but they grade their grades can be 5 or 6 out, meaning they're overgrading the diamond, and the public can't be expected to know this.
Absolutely.
They go into
we
a jeweler.
are at your mercy on
That's
this.
right. It's about knowing and trusting your jeweler.
You bet.
And I'm sorry to be the one to sit here and say larceny lives in the heart of man. And you need to know even a diamond over half a carat today, if it doesn't have a GIA certificate or an AGS certificate, you should turn around and leave.
Okay.
Because you're not getting what you're paying for.
Put us in the dollar ballpark here, Stephen. What would a half carat diamond roughly go for? So in other words, if you're looking at buying a diamond over X amount of dollar value, you need to have some paperwork accompanying it.
I would say over $2,000 today.
Okay.
A diamond over $2,000, if it doesn't have a GIA or an AGS certificate, you should ask why not.
Right.
And at the very least, you should be getting a second, third opinion independently of the person you're buying from.
Okay, but what if the dealer, whether it's in a mall or wherever, says, "Oh yes, we have a certificate, and here it is," and it's one of these European things that you're less than enthralled with? Now, what should your consumer reaction be?
Well, it's like they just held up a sign saying, "I'm about to cheat you."
Oh, okay.
And you have to smile and walk away.
Okay.
Unless you feel like getting into some kind of a lawsuit with them. But it's the best indicator of the integrity of the person you're dealing with. If they're selling you a diamond that's overgraded by 4 or 5 grades, they're cheating you. And I run into it too many times lately. I don't want to dwell on it, but there is a way for us in an economy that's a caveat emptor society to get the right thing. It's a GIA or an AGS certificate, and the absolute opposite of that, in my opinion, is the EGL certificate.
Now, have you, just to put the shoe on the other foot, have you had instances now where people have come into you with a diamond accompanied by one of these, shall we say, less than 100% certificates, and you give them a value, and they go, "Whoa, wait a second, I paid a lot more than that at cost 5 years ago, and the guy showed me this certificate. What are you talking about?"
It happened 2 times this week, and
Wow.
Unfortunately, we're not always the first person to tell them they were cheated. They might have gone to 2 or 3 places where everyone's saying, well, it's not the grade that you were told it was, and it's this grade, and it's worth this much less than you think it is. So
so somebody just got flat out ripped off.
They got ripped off, and it's disappointing for me in my position to have to tell them that, because we're running into it too many times. It's too often. The other side of it is, if somebody comes in with a GIA certificate, it's the best defense they could have if they're selling their diamond.
Right.
There's no gray anymore. It's black and white. You know exactly what it is. You can give them a price for it in 2 minutes, and then it's their decision to sell the diamond or try to get more.
Okay, so if there's anything else, if there's nothing else that you take away from this hour with Stephen and me tonight, it's this. If you're going to spend, for whatever purpose, if you're going to spend $2,000 or more on a diamond, you need to have a certificate of authenticity with that diamond from either the American Gemological Society or the Gemological Institute of America, correct?
That's right. They have no skin in the game. They're non-profit. They're paid $100 to make a certificate, and they aren't going to be coerced into grading the diamond differently than they believe it is.
Right. They're not beholden to anyone.
That's right.
Okay, so there you go, friends. That's the straight goods from a guy who not only knows the business literally from inside the ground out and from all over the world, it's also a caveat emptor, buyer beware moment here, friends, because we all, it's pretty easy to get carried away when you're, especially if you know you're looking for an engagement ring and you got your heart on your sleeve and your sweetie by your side and you're out there trying to impress everybody, and you could get taken for a ride. We don't know that the average person doesn't know a lot about diamonds other than, oh, that's a pretty one. That's it.
That's right. And the average jeweler is faced today with, I guess they look around and everybody's being offered these certificates. They look like they're the official thing.
Sure.
They've got signatures all over them, but it comes down to their future, I guess. They see the online sale creeping into their margin. They look at the future and say, well, if everybody else is selling an EGL cert and I don't, maybe I'm just looking expensive to everybody. But really, you're looking honest.
Right.
If you pull out a GIA certificate, then it just comes down to the quality of the diamond and the price that you're offering it for, and that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. Now, are most people, when they bring you an heirloom or a piece for some kind of evaluation and some advice, do they know, if for the most part, whether it is an authentic diamond? I doubt many of them bring paperwork with them, or do they?
Usually they do.
Oh, okay.
Most people, they start out with, they need to go and find out exactly what they've got and what it could be worth.
Okay.
And they go to an appraiser and they'll say, what is this worth? What am I likely to sell it for if I want to sell it? Because there are insurance values that an appraiser can put on, but they can also put on a sale, a liquidation price.
Okay.
And they're far apart.
Right.
The insurance company's happy to take a higher premium because you're paying them more money and they know they can replace it for less.
Sure.
So that's something that they're happy to condone. So that most people have come to the point when they're visiting us, they know that that's not what they're going to get for it if it's an insurance, but they also know the quality.
Right.
And then it's a matter of they shop. And I always say to them, look, if you're going to find somebody who's going to wear this, family or friend, that's where you're going to get the most money back.
Right.
I have to take your diamond. I might have to recut it. I might have to certify it, but I certainly have to sell it again with a profit.
Right.
So you can keep that profit in your pocket if you can find somebody who you can deal directly with.
When you go on the other side of the operation, Canadian Noble House Diamonds, which is the manufacturing division of the enterprise, if you will,
Right.
where do you buy your diamonds that you make into these patented, absolutely breathtaking cuts?
I travel to Antwerp and to Africa. And
Okay.
we talked a little bit earlier about Africa. That's the fun one for me, and then Antwerp's just the big yelling match because it's bargaining.
Mm-hmm.
Every diamond, every parcel, it usually ends up in some kind of a shouting match on, especially if it's a lot of money.
Right.
But that can be fun too.
I'm sure it can if you're in the mood. Now, all of these diamonds, just a curiosity question. If you're in Antwerp, yelling at everybody and buying your share of the action, do each of the stones that you buy, or diamonds, I shouldn't call them stones. I've just done a faux pas in jewelry. If you buy these diamonds in Antwerp, does each diamond come with that certificate we've just been talking about?
No, that happens after it's cut.
I see.
So
okay.
you start out with you're really working to your ability. You can do very well. There are some, you can get a colorimeter. You can put rough diamonds into a machine that will hit the color grade almost today perfectly.
Okay.
Which is great to have with you if you're in the jungles of West Africa. It takes probably the biggest part determining value off the table. So that's nice to have. You can actually have a portable light scanner. It's called a Sarin. You can take one of those into the jungle as well on battery, which you put a diamond into the machine. It does a light wrap and tells you what you can get a finished 2 carat out of it, or an emerald cut, or whatever it's going to yield to the best dollar.
And you can do all this in the outback, in the middle of the
Yeah.
jungle.
But unfortunately, the fraud side of the world, and that larceny in our heart, there's also people waiting to victimize the traveler trying to buy rough in the jungle. And you would think, well, they aren't as sophisticated as we can be because they live in the jungle in mud huts. But the truth is, they've got their wholesale sheets. They know usually what can be finished out of a diamond. They're very sharp. So it comes down to your bargaining there as well. And often in Africa, it's just a matter of being in the right place at the right time when somebody's found the diamond that fits what you're looking for.
From the jungles of Africa to Canada's far north, our guest knows the world of diamonds. He is Stephen Benolio, and he is the big guy at Canadian Estate Diamonds and Canadian Noble House Diamonds. Of course, in the industry, he's known as a principle. I'm Sterling Fox. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650, and we're back with lots more in a minute.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.